RiseAbsorb is redefining what growers expect from phosphate fertilizer. Backed by data and built for performance, RiseAbsorb helps reduce phosphorus losses, improve uptake, and boost ROI without increasing input costs. Join the next wave of growers switching to the next generation of phosphorus fertilizers by visiting phospholutions.com. Welcome to the Real Agri-Studies podcast, the show where farmer voices meet the power of data. Here we break down the latest research from producers, dig into the trends shaping agriculture, and turn insights into action. Now here are your hosts, Shaun Haney and Justin Funk.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Real Agri-Studies podcast, where we dive into the results of some recent surveys we've been doing at Real Agri-Studies. And a big thank you to our Insights panel, who continues to really provide their perspectives on, we've got the Canadian Farmer Sentiment Index that you need to check out. But we also ask other questions to really find out what the thoughts are of farmers and ranchers across the country. And of course, I'm Shaun Haney, joined by my colleague, Justin Funk. And Justin, what we're going to do in this episode is we're going to dive into a couple political and policy questions that are really top of mind right now for the industry and, of course, farmers and ranchers.
Yeah, you bet. We actually led off our Canadian Farmer Sentiment Index with this first question I'm going to share with you, which I think was enticed a lot of people to participate. We took a look at satisfaction with the Carney government in really what is sort of the first 3 months of the administration there. So the question was, overall, how satisfied are you with the first 3 months of the Carney government? And here's what we found. 11% indicated they were very satisfied. 24% were somewhat satisfied. 24% were neutral. And then 12% were somewhat dissatisfied, and 29% were very dissatisfied. So you can see just by looking at this, there's very much a clear divide on people's perspectives on the Carney government 3 months in.
Yeah, something we weren't able to do was sort of benchmark it to what their expectations were going into or right after the election, I should say. But this kind of does give us a bit of a benchmark going forward. We're able to measure and then look at, maybe it's 6 months or 12 months from now, how are we doing now? And what are your thoughts? But it'd be cool to get some of the feedback from people in terms of the reaction to this, especially from that very dissatisfied and that 11% that are very satisfied. They're pretty happy and probably voted that way from the very beginning.
Yeah. We have the ability to look at some relationship factors here, and I thought an interesting one to report on would be region. And so we do look at this from an east and west standpoint, and you can see it really in the colors, but I'm just going to highlight here the difference. We have 50% of eastern farmers are satisfied, either very or somewhat. But 48% of Western farmers would be in the dissatisfied camp. And so, there still is that neutral to play with, but you can really see there the clear divide with respect to the level of satisfaction from a regional standpoint.
Yeah. And, it's the neutral that is even, right? So we got 22% in the East, 24% in the West. And that's where the similarities kind of they've evaporate from that point forward. Only 5% of farmers in the West are very satisfied. 23% somewhat satisfied, whereas in the East, it's there's almost a quarter. 24% of farmers are saying, "Hey, I'm very satisfied with the Carney government." So you can definitely see the regional differences here. Probably not a massive surprise for a lot of the people that are watching and listening to this, but I think it's really cool to be able to have some numbers to attach to some of our assumptions.
Yeah, you bet. Now, the next set of questions focused on support for Bill C-202. So this is the bill designed to protect supply management. So here we were simply asking, what is your level of support? High level of support, moderate, low, or no support at all. And then we also put in, I'm not sure and I don't know much about it category. So when we look at this with a high level and moderate level of support combined, we're looking at 34% support. And then the rest is either not supporting or just not entirely sure. So I'm not sure, Shaun, what was your expectation on this question?
Well, I'm interested in how the non-supply managed versus supply managed feel, but 34% no support at all. Uh, I actually thought it'd be higher. I actually thought it'd be a little bit closer to the 50. I guess if you look at 34% no support at all and 19% at low level of support, we're kind of at that number that I would expect would be, pretty much against it. So maybe it is falling in line with what my expectations would be. But this is something that this is a bill breezed through the House, breezed through the Senate, and it has created a lot of divide and controversy within the agricultural sector, basically the trade commodities versus the supply managed commodities. And the teeth of it, we've got a lot of coverage of this on realagriculture.com. So please, if you want to learn more about Bill C-202, you can check it out at our website. But a lot of people questioning whether or not it actually has legislative teeth going forward to actually do what it's intended to do. Most people saying it really doesn't.
You mentioned you'd be interested in knowing how people in supply management felt about this. Well, that's actually something we're capable of doing. And so here are those results. It was probably no surprise here. 79% of supply managed farms support that bill, either high level of support or moderate level of support. And then you look at the non-supply managed, that number is significantly different.
Yeah. 13% though, high level of support in non-supply managed commodities. That sticks out to me. And some would say, as they look at this, wait a minute, we've gone through all of this, a couple years, different versions of this bill to make all this happen. Lots of discussion on Parliament Hill. It's created, a lot of echoes and conversation with some of our major trading partners in terms of what Canada's actually trying to do here. And only 53% of supply managed farmers have a high level of support of the bill that's meant to protect the industry. Some may say that's lower than what they would expect given how much discussion has been around this. So that sticks out to me as well.
Yeah. Just out of interest, I also decided to show this East versus West. And you can see when you look at the East, which I believe we have maybe a lot more supply management in the East, 49% support that bill. So I'm not sure what you take away from that, but I thought I would share those numbers with you.
Yeah, I think it's important to always look at these through different angles like we're doing here, and be able to, to tell us a little bit of a story, and because of that, where the supply managed industries kind of reside and where the exportable commodities are mainly grown, the differences here should not be a real surprise at all. The no support at all, 39% in the West, whereas 23% in the East, and pretty much, well, what is that? 49% of Eastern growers having some sort of support of this piece of legislation.
Yeah. The last question we're going to look at here was related to the provincial ag ministers and the federal ag minister working closer together. And so this was a preference question. I'd like them to work more with each other than they do today, less than they do today, or stay about the same. And this one overwhelmingly, I mean, you can't even do a relationship analysis on this one when 90% said, I believe that they should be working more than they do today.
Yeah. No matter where you sit on any of the issues, I think what farmers and ranchers really want is the provinces and the Fed to just come up with better programming and better policy around the industry to really allow it to thrive and prosper. So that when you look at that Canadian Farmer Sentiment Index and how negative some farmers are on the current and the future farm financial performance, one of the biggest threats to the industry is bad policy, and better policy, because they're working together, will switch around some of that financial sentiment that we've really struggled with for over 18 months in the Canadian sector. So I think this is good. I don't know why you would want them to work less together. Definitely the high majority saying no. We want to see more collaboration, even if those ministers are coming from different ends of the political spectrum.
You bet. So that's all we have to report on the politics and policy for this month. We have another podcast we're going to put together here on grain logistics. So look out for that. But thank you very much to our panel for contributing your thoughts to this particular subject.
Yeah, great stuff, everybody. Make sure you send your feedback to shaney@realagriculture.com. And if you have a question, if you have a topic that you think we should be going to the market with, please don't hesitate. Don't be shy, and make that suggestion. We love suggestions and encouragement for sure. Until next time, this is Shaun Haney and Justin Funk of Real Agri Studies, and we'll talk to you later. Cheers, everybody.